All right. So this is the video for section 11.2. And in this video, we're going to talk about areas of circles and pieces of areas of circles called sectors and population density. So first thing we want to do is go over a few vocabulary words that we're going to use. So first, let's look at population density. And population density is simply a measure of how many people live within a given area. Okay, so you may hear on the news that there's 12,000 people per square mile in this city. Okay, that would be population density. Usually it's people per square mile. It doesn't have to be by any means, but that's generally what you think of when you think of population density. And depending on where you're at, the population density can vary greatly. Okay. So sector of a circle, guys, is the region bounded by two radii, and radii, I don't know how to spell it, we'll just put it that way. Radii is just radius plural, of the circle and their intercepted arc. Okay, so this one is a lot easier to see a picture of. Okay, so if I have a circle here, okay, I want two radii, so here's a radius and here's a radius, and they're intercepted arcs, so this would be the radius. So when I do that, I have two sectors of this circle. Okay, I have this sector here, which is the region bounded by those. That'd be the general sector you're talking about, but it also creates this bigger sector here. So we're basically cutting the circle apart. All right. Area, guys, you should know what area is. It's just the amount of space inside a two-dimensional object. And when we're talking about two-dimensional, we're talking about a flat surface. All right. Hopefully you guys know the area of a circle. If not, you will have to know it and memorize it for the test. So the area of a circle is just pi r squared. Okay, so notice all you need is the radius to find the area of a circle. All right, so area equals pi r squared. Okay, so let's look at example 1. Let's look at part A first. It says find the area of a circle where the radius is 9. Okay, so all we're going to do is plug 9 in for r. So I could say area equals pi times r squared, so just 9 squared, which is 9 squared is 81, so I could say the area is 81 pi. So this would be exact. So if Big Idea says what's the exact area, this would be exact. And if it says round to the nearest whatever, then all you would have to do is put 81 pi into your calculator and get a decimal. All right, let's look at example B here. It says we want to find the diameter of a circle with an area of 42 square meters. Okay, so if I know the area, I'm plugging this 42 in for here, and then I'm going to solve for r. Okay, and after I have my r, I can get my diameter by just multiplying my radius by 2. All right, so let's set up equations. So we know 42 is the area, and that's equal to pi r squared. Okay, so we got to do a little math here. Let's divide both sides by pi. Those go away. So 42 over pi equals r squared. Okay, to undo a square, you square root both sides. So r is going to be the square root of 42 over pi. Okay, and if I put that on my calculator, I get roughly, r is roughly 3.656. Okay, but that's my radius. Okay. It says to find the diameter. So if we have my radius to find my diameter, all I have to do is multiply that by 2. And when I do, I get that my diameter is roughly 7.3-ish, and that's meters. Guys, I'm sorry, going back to A, this should be inches squared. Remember, area is units squared, and then one dimension is just no square. All right, let's look at C. We want the area of a circle with the circumference of 12 centimeters. Now, if you remember, circumference is 2 pi r. Okay, so it gives me my circumference, so I can plug this 12 in for C, and then I can solve for r. Okay, and then after I have r, I can plug it in to find the area. So there's a couple extra steps here, but they're not, it's all stuff we've done. They're doable steps. Okay, so first I'm going to do, the circumference is 12. So I know that 12 has to equal 2 pi r. Okay, so to get r by itself, I divide by 2 pi, divide by 2 pi. This 12 over 2 becomes 6. So 6 over pi equals my r. Okay, now I want to find the area when I know my radius is 6 over pi. So my area is going to be pi r squared, so pi times 6 over pi squared. Okay, notice I'm only squaring what's in the parentheses, and I have to square what's in the parentheses before I can multiply this in, because PEMDAS tells us we have to. Okay, so this would be pi times 6 squared over pi squared, basically, so 6 squared is 36 over pi squared. Think of this as pi over 1. Okay, so that and one of those would go away, so I'm left with 36 over pi, and that would be centimeters squared. All right, guys, area of a sector. Okay, so I'm going to be finding kind of a piece of the pie right here. Okay, so the area of the sector is the proportion of the sector times entire area of circle. Okay, always. And if we want to break this down more, the proportion of the sector can be found by the central angle over 360. This is kind of like arc length. And the area of the circle is just pi r squared. Okay, so let's do an example. All right, let's look at this example here, part A. Okay, notice the circle 1, 2 has a radius of 2, and the circle over here, notice these are going, this is 4, so these are going by 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8. My radius here is 8. Okay, so I want the area of sector times the area of circle. Actually, I want the proportion of the sector. All right, so here, if I find the area of this circle, this is just pi times 2 squared. So my area of this circle is 4 pi. Okay, over here, my area of this circle is going to be pi times r squared. So my area then is 64 pi. That should make my life a little easier. All right, so my proportion times the area. Well, guys, it tells us my proportion. 7/8 of the circle. 7/8 is my proportion. So all I'm going to do is the proportion of the sector, which is 7/8, times the area of the circle, which we've already found to be 4 pi. And if you like, think of this as 4 pi over 1. Okay, so this is just 7 times 4 times pi. This is over 8 times 1, which is just 8. You'll notice this and this make 1 over 2. So 7 times 1 times pi is just 7 pi over 2, and that would be your answer. Okay, B is the same way, guys. This time my proportion is 2/3. So I'm going to have 2/3 times, I already know my entire area is 64 pi. You could do 64 pi over 1 if you want. So when I work that out, I get 128 pi over 3, and 3 doesn't go into 128 pi, so this is just my final answer. All right, so let's look at 2a. So I have area of sector equals proportion of sector times the area of the circle. All right, guys, now because I know I'm going to need my area, I'm going to go ahead and find it. So my area of the circle is pi r squared. My r here is 8, so 8 squared. And 8 squared is just 64 pi inches squared. That is the area of my circle, so I'm going to use that. Okay, now I want to find the area of both sectors. So one sector would be here in green, and my other sector would be here in yellow. Okay, so I don't know, let's do my small sector first. So the one in yellow. Okay, so it's going to be my proportion times my area. Well, guys, my proportion is just the 70 degrees out of the entire 360 times the area of the circle is 64 pi. Okay, so that's just 70 times 64 times pi over 360, which is 480 pi over 360. And most of you probably just plug it in your calculator, which is fine, but if I wanted to get exact simplified, I could simplify these numbers here to 112 over 9, so 112 pi over 9, and that would be inches squared, which will be my final answer. All right, now if I want my big sector, okay, here, if this is 70 degrees, guys, this has to be 360 minus 70, so this is just 290. So it's the same process, but here my proportion is 290 degrees out of the entire 360. And I'm just going to multiply that once again by my area. Okay, so it'd be 290 times 64 times pi over 360. And once again, most of you will probably put it in your calculator, which is fine. But if I wanted to make it exact and simplify it, I would get this times this over this. All right, let's do this one at a time. So this is 18,560 pi over 360. And when I look here, this simplifies to 464 over 9, but don't forget your pi. That would be inches squared, and that's how you would do that.